Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, and we have a very, very special guest in this episode of the Far End of the Bench. He is a 2016 IFAF International Federation of American Football silver medalist, along with myself. He went to Peoria High School up in Peoria, Illinois, where he played baseball, football, and went on to anchor. And he wrestled at Peoria High School, and then he went on to anchor the University of Illinois offensive line before being drafted 87th overall by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Also announced by Daryl McDaniels of Run DMC. So that's a cool thing. But Kendrick Green joins us today. Kendrick, thank you for coming on and donating some of your time to be on the far end of the bench. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, for sure. Glad to be here. Anything for my boy was in the trenches with me in China. So
yeah, no, that's I guess I'll put this up here. I don't know if you still got yours somewhere, but this was hanging on my wall right by my desk. So I was like, I gotta. Yeah. There's the proof. We did go to China. It says Harbin, China, somewhere on the medal. Probably on this side. I don't know. I don't read Mandarin. I never picked it up. Nico, this is another big interview. We keep bringing the heat on all these interviews. First Birdman, Luis Vasquez, and now we got a third round pick in the NFL draft and a current player.
Oh, of course, the next man up in Pittsburgh. I mean, talk about the Steelers organization that is in need of offensive linemen, and Kendrick Green here is going to be anchoring the team that you basically despise, Jimmy. Which is going to be interesting. Which is going to be kind of funny because we may have to get a Kendrick Green Steelers jersey, and I don't know how much you're going to like that.
Oh man, Kendrick and I talked about that. I told him even though it's cool that he got drafted. I hope that you play well against the Bengals, but I hope that the Bengals win. But hey, I said that a Mike Webster jersey might be the only Steelers jersey. I agree with you. We might have to get some 53 Kendrick Green jerseys rolling around here in that black and yellow of Pittsburgh. But let's start, Kendrick, kind of basically at the beginning of your story. Out there, were you born and raised in Peoria, or did you end up moving there at a young age? How did that whole thing come about with your family?
No, yeah, born and raised in Peoria, Illinois. Whole family is, born and raised in Peoria, Illinois as well. So, but yeah, man, just actually kind of miss home. Not gonna lie. So,
it's gotta be nice. So you're kind of in the Midwest, though. So it's not. I'm sure it's probably not too far though, but growing up in Illinois, I mean, I played college football in Illinois for 1 year, and I know that Mississippi River cold can get to you. Do you feel like you're prepared a little more for Pittsburgh, knowing that you played in the rain and the snow in Illinois?
Absolutely, and honestly, I think it'd be the other way. I think if I went to a place like Miami or Houston or something, man, I don't know if I'd survive because the heat turns me into a bitch, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'd much rather take the freezing rain, the snow games. I'd take that any day over 98 degrees, 99. You know what I mean? And so yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna fit right in that Pittsburgh attitude. They're known as the hard-nosed organization for a reason. Like I said, you were a three-sport athlete in high school. What sport did you start with? Where did you first become an athlete and kind of figure out that you were probably a better athlete than everybody you were playing against, I'd assume? I mean, I met you when you were a junior in high school and you were bigger and stronger than everybody. So when did you start playing and what sport did you start playing first?
Flag football, 7 years old, second grade. And right after that, that season ended, I got into basketball that same year and kind of just started rolling with it ever since. So, think the year after that, I played, obviously played football again and then still played basketball, but then I got into wrestling and baseball that next school year, you know what I mean? So I just kind of did that all the way up until high school. And then, had to make a decision between basketball and wrestling when it came to go to high school. So stuck with the mat.
Yeah, when we talked with Louis Vasquez, he was a big-time baseball player as well in different sports. Do you think playing baseball, playing wrestling especially, do you think that translates to necessarily your footwork and and how you've grown into the player that you've become?
Yeah, 100%. I would say, obviously, wrestling being, hand-to-hand combat, body leverage, body position, body control. I think that's the biggest piece that people forget about is body control. But yeah, man, I attribute a lot of my success on the field to coming from the mat for sure.
That's pretty common too. Like I know countless stories of old offensive linemen who played in the NFL. There's a few that didn't even play football in college, but they got picked up off the NCAA wrestling mats in the national tournament and found their way onto the football field. It's got to go well with that mental toughness side too. I mean, we'll get to the experience in China, and that was kind of a mentally, I would say it was a mentally challenging situation, but I know from my experience wrestling and you wrestling obviously have similar experiences, but it just makes you into a different kind of person mental wise. Like you're able to deal with everything once you get through a wrestling practice. You feel that same way?
Yeah, my wrestling coach has always said, like, once you've wrestled, everything else in life becomes a little bit easier. Just so I can definitely, we're on the same page with that. And then yeah, with the China thing, that was I've never been so happy to land like in we landed in New York, man. I was so happy to get off that damn plane, man. Oh my God.
It was a lot of travel. I don't blame you for. I had a similar feeling getting to JFK up in New York, and I was like, wow, everybody's walking around. I understand the language people are speaking. I don't feel like anybody's talking about me, except they probably were, because I looked like I got back from China from 3 weeks and probably stunk and all that kind of stuff. But speaking of China, I haven't really talked about how I got selected for that team, but I'm more interested about what the process was for you, because you're a year younger than us in school. I was a senior when I just graduated high school when we went to China, and so did Nico. We were in the same graduating class. You were a junior in high school, so USA Football. Did you go to the camps? How did that relationship start with the USA Football organization, and how did it get to you getting the call to be on that U16 team to go to China and play in the IFAFs that year?
I actually so what my high school coach, he did a lot of stuff with USA Football. And I don't know if you remember AI, Aaron Ingram, or not. I'm sure you do.
Oh, yeah.
Hard guy to forget. But they had a good relationship, and I had just started getting recruited pretty heavily. The Big Ten offers rolling in and stuff like that. And I think AI reached out to my coach, like, yo, like, this, like, I mean, we know he's pretty good. Like, what do you want to come to China and play? And me being from where I'm from, I had never met anybody go to China, so I'm like, fuck yeah, I'll go. You know what I mean? So, but I don't want to say I regret it, but it was not easy. So,
yeah, I think that's probably pretty standard throughout. I told you the same thing. There were challenges that I wish I would have been prepared for going into it, but that's one of those experiences. I mean, just you remember sitting in those classrooms in New Jersey. I've told Nico this story off air, but they were like giving us the culture lesson. And I'm interested to see how you reacted to this, because I was pretty shocked by it. But one of the things that they had to sit us down in the Chinese language, instead of when we're thinking for the next thing that we're going to say, it's normally like an or a just kind of dead air. In the Chinese language, they decided that their is going to be replaced by a certain word in the English language that would be I'm definitely not going to say it, but it could be offensive. They used iteration of the N word when they're going to do the but they had to sit us down in a classroom, and they put the word up on the board, and they were like, I know that this is probably not usual for all you guys, but we're going to hear this a lot, and it's not going to mean the same thing. So what did you feel like sitting in those classrooms and just getting ready for the culture shock that was China?
I remember I remember hearing that, and I'm like, there's no way in hell, like who, like, I feel like that was something. I'm like, man, I feel like I would have heard this before if this was really a thing, But I personally never heard, when we got to China, I never heard anybody use that as like a filler, as a space filler. But like I told you earlier, I was talking to DeJuan Cooper. He was like, man, let's say the N-word and stuff like that. I'm like, we were like, they warned us about that. You know what I mean? I do remember that react. That shit was funny. It was super funny. Definitely. Yeah, I forgot about that. Wow.
Crazy some of the things.
Yeah, was it playing against international competition? Obviously, football isn't necessarily a sport that you see a whole lot of international competition. Was that necessarily an eye opener to you, being like, man, Team USA, this is like, I'm playing with some of the best players in the country on the high school level, and we really are. I mean, not to float our boat a little bit, but we are that much better than everyone else in the world at football.
Man, like you guys just seen Jimmy hold up the silver medal. Should have had the gold for sure.
Should have, yeah.
Man, but that Canada team was really good. I would say they were definitely they're a lot to handle for sure. But man, you would see like Mexico had some athletes. I remember Austria had like a few good players and stuff like that. Australia, you know what I mean? I'm like, wow, like there's like some kids who like if they were in the US, they could definitely be like, playing D1 football and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely an eye opener to just see how, how much serious, how like feel like a big gap in those games, like were just the fact of us knowing the game a little bit more. You know what I mean? I would say that was like the biggest thing.
Each country kind of had their own way that they played too. We played when we were out there. We played Austria, Canada, Japan, and then Canada in the gold medal game. And Austria, I like to say they basically turned on the NFL from the 90s and watched the Cowboys and the 49ers were like, oh, so we run 2 tight ends in an I formation under center, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to have big linemen. But then Japan, like we were so much more physically just bigger than Japan. But I will say that Bushido code, like we got up like 40 on these guys, and they were still playing like it was 0-0. They had a chance to beat us.
Yeah, that kamikaze little mindset type of man. They were till that clock hit 0. I remember that as well. Damn.
Yeah, and then
jobs from memory.
Well, you were brought in the camp when we were doing the training camp for New Jersey. You were brought in as an offensive lineman. Then they started using you more as a defensive lineman for the tournament. Did they tell you going in that you were probably going to be on both sides, or was that a decision that you think they made once we got over there and saw some of the people that we had on the team?
Yeah, it was AI told my coach like we're kind of open to having them at both. I honestly I think I wanted to play D-line, so that's kind of why it more went that way, if we're being honest. But yeah, and like I knew there was a little bit more room for me to get on the field. I feel like there's a little bit of lack of depth on our team at that spot. But yeah, definitely was something. I kind of wish I would have played O-line a little bit more. I think it would have been a little bit more fun, honestly.
It was interesting. That last game was not fun when we threw the ball 50 times trying to come back against Canada.
Yeah, I remember.
But then going from like I said, you still had another season. You had another season of college or high school football and then high school wrestling. When you came back from China, were you kind of was it in your head a little bit like I just came from an international tournament and I'm going to have to come back and play against all these kids that, every single high school, no matter what state you're in, you got the teams that are really good that are going to be tough games, but every team has like a couple scrubs that wind up playing on varsity. So would you say that maybe it kind of got in your head a little bit coming back and playing high school football from China?
I was definitely so I came back in the middle of our like training camp type of thing, you know what I mean? Sorry about that, just getting a call. But yeah, and it was just it was definitely a little bit harder to lock in, you know what I mean, for sure. And then just being exhausted. I got off the plane. We landed at like it had to have been like midnight or something like that, right? And we got to JFK.
It was 23 hours in the air.
You know what I mean? And like just being on that plane for that long, like we just mentioned earlier, the fucking delay. And then I had a flight to Chicago at 6 a.m. and then I was back in my hometown by like 8 a.m. We had practice at 10 o'clock that day. I'm like, well, I might as well go to practice, you know what I mean? And I just remember that and like just really thinking like, man, like these kids have no idea, you know what I mean? Like these kids, like I feel like we had a lot of talent on that USA team. Like we had a lot of guys go play D1 ball or just college ball in general. My high school team, we were good. We ended up winning the state title that year, but we didn't have like a lot of college talent, if I'm being honest. So,
what level was Peoria? Was it? I don't know how they do in Colorado. They do 5A as the top level and then go down from there. How do they split it in?
So yeah, in Illinois, there's 8 classifications, and we won. There's 1 through 8A, and then we won 5A. So we're like in the middle, I guess you could say.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense then. And you said. We were talking before because I didn't know where Peoria was. You're on the total opposite side of Illinois than Chicago, pretty much is what you're saying, right? Kind of more on the plains.
Yeah. So if you, I'm closer to Iowa than I am Chicago. I wouldn't say I'm on the border of Iowa and Illinois, but like man, if you like look at the map and you go look from Chicago to St. Louis, Peoria is like right in the middle of the two. You know what I mean? So I guess that's like the best way to look at it. I don't know.
Living in Illinois, were you a Bears fan growing up? Were you a St. Louis Rams fan or growing up, or did you necessarily have a team that you loved rooting for?
Growing up, I was a LaDainian Tomlinson fan, so I love the San Diego Chargers.
No way. That's
Yeah.
why my brother suffers as a Jets fan now, because he followed LT from the Chargers to the Jets.
Yep.
Oh.
I followed him all his whole career, man. So
Damn. So you won the state championship that year in football. You won a wrestling state championship that year. Did you win one wrestling, or did you?
I didn't. I actually got fourth my senior year. I should have won. I choked, but
I wasn't sure. I wasn't. I knew that you had one under your belt. I just got a sixth place in the region medal to my name. So you made it to the big dance anyways, especially out there in Illinois. That would have been crazy.
Yeah, big wrestling state for sure.
Yeah. So now let's talk about a little bit of your recruiting process, because I mean you got a chance to go play for Illinois and play for Lovie Smith for, I believe it was 2 years or 1 or 2 years. How was that recruiting process, and did you kind of want to stay close to home when you chose Illinois?
Yeah, I had going through that process. It was really between kind of narrowed it down at the end. It was Illinois, Iowa, and Notre Dame, and just stuck with Illinois, being close to home. I grew up an hour 15 minutes away from University of Illinois. Had a girlfriend in high school, didn't want to be too far from her, you know what I mean? So if we're being honest, I think that's kind of where what separated Illinois from the other two. So
it makes sense though, because you go from being you're close there, and then it's similar. Like that's still D1 ball, still Big Ten ball, but you're not going to the Ohio States or anything like that. You're still able, like you redshirted your first year, but I'm sure that there was a lot more competition going into that decision to redshirt you that first year than there would have been. There is something to be said for picking a place where you could have ample playing time right away. And I feel like that Illinois, we talked about it. They're getting better. Like last season, you guys were in a lot of games. You guys were competing with everybody, but Illinois football's got a little bit of a climb, I think, still. They're getting to the point that they want to be at, but I feel like that probably was a good decision for you too. In hindsight, you got to come in and play right away.
I mean, yeah, it ended up working out, like you said. Yeah, hindsight, it ended up working out, but Illinois is definitely still on the uphill battle. But I think change is coming, man. I got a lot of confidence in Brett Bielema, so we'll see what happens.
Definitely. Then how much of a difference did you feel going from high school to college? Because like I said, you were pretty much ready for D1 ball right away. Did you feel like maybe you had to catch up in other areas because you were so much farther ahead physically than a lot of guys your age when you were transitioning?
I think it was a lot of the mental game. I was definitely strong enough, but I think obviously same thing with me coming from college to the NFL now. It's just it's just play speed. You know what I mean? The game's just a little bit faster, obviously, but once you get used to that, it's kind of same thing. You just kind of get the game slows down for you mentally, and you just try and grow and develop. So.
Do you prefer playing guard or center? Because I know you played both, and I know you're kind of working both right now in training camp. But do you have a preference?
I like them both for different reasons. I like kind of like directing the traffic at center and kind of having the snap count be in my hand and use it to my advantage. But also at guard, I don't really have to worry about snapping the ball. I can just put a little bit more weight on my hand and come off the ball. So pros and cons to both, I guess you could say.
You're going to work out a deal where, like, if you get pissed off at somebody, you get to switch over to guard and just rotate
right.
them?
Yeah, that'd be ideal for sure.
Going into that last season with COVID, what was that time like? And was there a decision to be made, I guess, where you maybe thinking about moving on earlier, or what was that whole thing like when they were still trying to figure out if the Big Ten was going to play?
Yeah, I was we thought we were going to play like in January, like have a winter season, that's what we were hearing. But but no, I mean, I knew like I needed that last season to get drafted, obviously. But so I had no intentions on really going anywhere actually.
So getting into now necessarily the draft process, obviously it's a little bit different. There's not as much. There was no combine. There was just basically the school combine days. How was that process going through that? Having to do Zoom calls and having to do all that, because obviously it's a completely different draft experience and going through the whole process now than it has been in years past.
I would say that like just from the time I declared to the time I got drafted, probably the most stressful 5 months I've ever endured in my life, man. It was, you're just always constantly your interviews to training, working on your craft, trying to put up good numbers and test well and all that. And it's just like, man, like, and it all rides on one day, right? So say the day you test, you're having an off day, then, that's just, you are what you are, right? But I would definitely say that process is, I'm sure anybody who's went through it can attest, like it's one of the most stressful things ever.
When did you make that decision that you were going to declare? Because you still had eligibility going into the season, but what was that deciding factor where you were like, you know what, I'm ready to move on and maybe see how far I can take this thing?
I was actually really conflicted. Just like, man, like, do I want to, should I stay in Illinois another year? Should I transfer? Should I, should I declare? And it was like I had like 72 hours left to decide when I decided. So it was kind of down to the last minute, man. It was really stressful. There's a lot of praying, a lot of talking to my folks, and just I decided just bet on myself, and it ended up working out. I thought I was going to go a little bit higher this year than what I actually went, but no complaints. I think I landed in a great spot. So.
Yeah, and I think too, was there a deciding person that you kind of went to, or was it a combination of your parents and prayer and all that kind of thing, or was there somebody that you sat down and was like, listen, I got to figure out how to make this decision because I'm running out of time and I need to figure out what's going to help me make this decision easiest? Was there one person that you kind of went to?
No, it was like you said, a little bit combination of things. Talking with my people, with Coach Lovie Smith after he got let go of Illinois, talking with him, and talking with other guys who were already in the NFL, and just things like that. And I think everything kind of just had its role in the equation to get me to end up declaring.
Is there a tight knit between the guys that have gone through the Illinois football program? Is it are the people that have gone through it, are they good about coming back and helping out some of the guys that they've played with before, or is it once you get out of there, you're just like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to move on and try and figure out my way, or is there a good mentor program too?
I think guys definitely go out of their way to stay in touch. You know what I mean? As they should, but it's but you really don't see too many guys come back to Illinois, and like after when they're in the NFL, you don't really see that too much. But I plan on trying to come back though and see my guys and stuff. So
yeah, I think that's part of a good culture too, is if guys that are successful that have been able to go through the program, once you start coming back and helping them out, it feeds itself. And that's kind of when you're trying to rebuild a program, that's one thing that I think is definitely needed. And I mean, why not be the first one?
Right, absolutely, yeah.
So then you were with your family. Obviously, you didn't end up going to the draft. What was that? Was it still stressful at your draft party, or were you guys, pretty confident that at some point you were going to get called?
I was like 80% sure I was going to go, in the second or third round. I was pretty confident, but you still got that lingering 20%, right? And was definitely nervous. That was a super stressful day as well, just sitting on the couch waiting and waiting and waiting. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, when I got that call, man, I don't even remember what I just remember. Hey, it's Mike Tomlin, and then I blacked out. I don't remember shit else after that. It was a great experience for sure.
Were there a few teams that you necessarily heard from through the draft process? Obviously, the Steelers being one of them. That you kind of had a feeling maybe this is a spot where they're going to take me, or were there some teams that you're not necessarily you want to go to, but you had discussions with that you felt pretty confident that you might have ended up there?
Oh yeah, like Houston, LA Rams, Atlanta, Green Bay. Those are all teams I was like, like I think it was a good probability that I'll land there. The Jets as well, New York Jets. But yeah, you really never know until because anything can literally happen, right? So I'm glad it worked out though. So
there's countless stories of guys getting drafted, and you're like, I never even spoke to anybody at that organization, and all of a sudden that's where I'm going to be living. I will echo what Nico said earlier, though. At least you're in the Midwest, so you're not like those guys from Miami that end up going up to Green Bay, and you're like, I don't own winter clothes or a pair of pants. So first stop is the clothing store. But no, I think all of those organizations, the Steelers made sense. I would say, especially seeing what they did after the season, the Packers made a lot of sense because they're trying to rebuild. They just let Lindsley walk, who was an all-pro center. But no, the Steelers, for as much as I don't necessarily care for the organization, as an offensive lineman, there's worse organizations to play for than the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Shoot, man, look, right where I'm sitting at, I got the freaking, hold on, my camera's on blur. I got the view of Heinz Field right here from my apartment.
right there at Three Rivers, man. That's where they used to have the old stadium and everything.
Yep, yeah.
Oh, that's so when you arrived at Pittsburgh, you show up to the facility the first day. Is that another moment where you're like were you able to take it in, or were you, in a whirlwind almost? Same situation when Tomlin called and you're like, man, I don't remember a whole lot from this.
I mean, honestly, I think my big moment of realization, I guess, was like, I had got on a flight from Chicago to Pittsburgh, really quick flight, but just landing, the captain speaking, it's like at the end, he's like, welcome to Pittsburgh. I'm like, oh my God, I'm really here. You know what I mean? I think that was my big moment for sure. But yeah, showing up to the facility, like my locker being right next to Ben Roethlisberger, you know what I mean? And Chase Claypool and Juju Smith-Schuster's right next to me as well. It's just kind of a different thing for sure.
How many TikToks are you going to be a part of? Is my question. If you're right next to Claypool and Juju, are you going to be dancing? We're going to see you all over social media.
I'm not too big of a dancer myself, but so I'll try. Maybe if they need somebody to hold the phone and record it, maybe I'll be that guy. But
spoken like a true center, no, I won't be involved, but I'll help out. Man. I got you guys. I'll get the angles and all that. I feel like that'd be a hell of a message to be sent too. You show up, you know that you're a center, you know that Marquise Pouncey just declared his retirement, and now you show up and your locker's right next to the starting quarterback, not just a starting quarterback, but a future Hall of Fame quarterback, 2-time Super Bowl champion. Was he cool about introducing himself to you, or did you maybe feel a little intimidated at first? How did that relationship start?
No, so he actually had me and 3 other of the offensive draft picks over. That's kind of how he kind of had us come over to his house. Beautiful house, by the way, crazy. But he made steaks for us. We got to meet his family and stuff. But we just kind of chopped it up. But yeah, he's very welcoming. He's honestly a great guy. Just trying to help us out with picking up the playbooks and things like that. And he's honestly just like another coach, if we're being honest. I think it's a big deal for us.
He's as a rookie offensive lineman, a rookie center, having a guy like that to fall back on that's not something that you expect coming into the league, but there's not too many things that would be able to help you more than having a guy like that. So
absolutely.
Yeah. And the reports are he's not that he hasn't taken stuff seriously, but now he's come out and said himself, he's rededicated himself. He saw what Tom Brady did. Are you able to see a little bit of that change, or you maybe haven't seen him around enough to be able to really notice any kind of difference?
Honestly, I didn't. I feel like I would have to see him before, what his habits were before. But he's a guy. He's always in. He's working on his body. You can see him in his locker. He's reviewing his plays and stuff like that. He's a pretty locked in guy, pretty focused guy, pretty serious demeanor. So definitely, I would definitely say he's about his business.
So going into a brand new offensive line room, obviously being in the offensive line room in Illinois, you're almost seen as the man. So now going into a new offensive line room where it's a historic place like Pittsburgh, how is that necessarily trying to fit in, trying to necessarily because you're fighting against those guys for playtime. But at the same time, if you all aren't on the same page, it's going to end up all right. So how is that first getting into the building, into that offensive line room?
Just kind of, you're back at the bottom of the feeding chain, the totem pole, whatever you want to call it. So, just like the other day, I just had to go do some rookie duties and grab snacks for the whole line room and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, just kind of, you got to prove your worth, worth to stay. So, just back to the drawing board, back to putting in work and, earning your respect. That's what it's all about. So.
Is there a guy in the room that's kind of the de facto leader? I would assume that it was probably Pouncey before he retired, but is there a guy that you can tell that everybody's kind of looking towards who's maybe been there the longest or been in the league longer than most?
I would say, like that's a big thing with our room. Like we got a lot of guys who aren't, we got guys who've got some starts, but we don't really have anybody who's, been in Pittsburgh for a while and got X amount of seasons under their belt. Like we really don't have that guy, but we do have older guys like Zach Banner, Chooks Okafor. Those two guys I would say probably are more towards the leaders of the room.
Is there, you got a close teammate that you've made? Who would you say is your best friend? Maybe it's another rookie that you were drafted with or a guy that you've ended up, I know camp just started today, but do you got a guy that you're close with so far?
Yeah, really close with, Dan Moore, 4th round pick at a tackle out of Texas A&M. Mm-hmm. And Najee Harris, obviously me and him are pretty tight. Pat Fryermuth from Penn State, tight end, 2nd round pick. I feel like us four are kind of like, we're pretty close. So,
how excited were you when you're like, oh shit, I just got drafted to the Steelers, then they drafted Najee Harris. I got to block for a guy like Najee Harris.
Yeah, and after me, I didn't know how he was gonna be as a person, but man, Najee's a great dude. And obviously he's a freak, athletically, he just does stuff I've never seen like somebody so big do. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, man,
are his legs bigger than you?
His calf, like just the veins are just running through his whole life. It's really crazy. But nah, man, I got some pretty big legs myself, so I don't know. I wouldn't say bigger, but
I know that he's got some tree trunks on him. I just had to ask.
Yeah.
I didn't know if the offensive lineman was going to come out or the prideful, the rookies. Like, nah, he's big, but I'm bigger.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, he ain't lying. So.
Yeah. No, man, that's
yes. So sorry, I jump in here because I thought about this on the top of my head. So with who are you most necessarily, because you're in the middle of the line, so you're not necessarily going to see Cam Hayward every single practice necessarily, even though you may see him now and then. Is there a guy, because the division has a bunch of great inside linemen. Talk about Geno Atkins. Talk about guys like Derek Wolfe in Baltimore. Is there a guy in division that you're kind of got your eyes on? You're like, dang, I can't wait to go up against this guy.
Nah, man. I haven't even thought about who we're playing or any of that yet. I just, I'm really really focused and trying to wire in and get this starting position. That's my first focus, but I'm sure when the time comes, there'll be some guys like you said, Geno Atkins, and you got Calais Campbell at Baltimore and stuff like that. So
yeah, and who knows, TJ Watt might circle around on a blitz sometime and get in the middle of the line, and then you're like, oh,
you never know, right? Exactly.
Yeah. No, I mean, if you're gonna go to a place and get challenged and see if you're really about this NFL life, I got tons of confidence in you. As an offensive lineman, you might as well start in the AFC North, because it's not going to get a whole lot harder. I would say maybe the AFC South a couple of years ago when you got Calais Campbell in Jacksonville and JJ Watt, but the AFC North is notorious for their defense and having tough defenses to go up against.
Absolutely.
Is there any kind of surprise? What I guess was the biggest surprise to you being a professional than what you've done so far? Because obviously the international camp, we weren't professionals, but we basically only had to focus on football. Is that a transition, having so many things in school and then coming to the NFL and you're like, I got practice and I got film, and then I kind of got to figure out what the rest of my day is going to look like? Was there a little bit of a transition there too?
Honestly, it's like, I wouldn't say it's a transition, because it's like really just like a sigh of relief, like, no school, like I'm done, you know what I mean? I got my degree, I'm finished, but no, yeah, just when it's all football, that just makes it a little bit, it just makes it better. obviously there's a lot more stress that comes with the NFL. There's a lot more weighing on your shoulders, but I'd take this any day over college ball for sure.
And then you mentioned earlier you do have a new little daughter, a little 8-month-old daughter. How's that been transitioning to the dad life, and then also, trying to become the NFL player that you want to be for her as well?
Yeah, man, just kind of like a newfound enthusiasm, newfound motivation. When it comes, just perfecting my craft, I got a little bit more reason to get after it. So, she's 8 months old. Wouldn't trade her for the world, man. It's definitely a dad life. I love it, man. It's dope. So.
Yeah, now she'll be able to. I know that she's going to have as many Kendrick Green jerseys in her closet as possible, because she's going to be your little cheerleader.
All she's going to wear probably for all the fall season.
Right.
There's worse color combinations than black and gold. Not many worse color combinations, but there are some worse combinations. You actually, speaking of the USA Football connection that we have, Dwayne Haskins, I played with him in one of the International Bowl games out in Arlington. Have you had a lot of contact with Haskins since he's been in the organization, or has he kind of been around much?
Yeah. We kind of just work on snaps every day, just snapping the ball. Haskins is a great dude, really chill guy. He's been around. I feel like our quarterback room is pretty solid, solid group of guys.
Yeah, he was talented. He's one of the more talented quarterbacks that I can remember playing with, and I only got to play with him for one All-Star game, so I didn't even get to see all that he can do. But as somebody who's kind of seen him out on the field, can you second that notion? Like, talent-wise, Dwayne Haskins is able to play. He just hasn't necessarily gotten those opportunities to show that necessarily.
Man, he can spin it for sure. Just watching him throw is like it's beautiful. Like, just the ball, I don't know, man. I don't think I've ever seen anybody was better. Like, the way the ball comes out of his hand, man, it's definitely a sight to see. But he's definitely talented. He's got good arm strength, good arm accuracy. You know what I mean? So I'm excited to see what the future holds for him as well.
That's also a situation where you kind of got to count your blessings. Like, I got drafted into this organization with an established, you didn't get drafted to a team that's going through an identity change right now, where you don't have a mascot or anything like that. It's a step up as well.
Absolutely. No, yeah. I thought, like I said, I feel like I fell into a great situation being here at Pittsburgh, man. So.
Well, before we kind of wrap things up, we do this with all of our guests, and it's a rapid fire question round. So we're going to throw some questions at you. Some of them might stump you, but we want to get your answer for some of these. Nico, you got one to start off with?
Okay. Favorite stadium you've played in?
Kinnick Stadium, University of Iowa.
Okay. Yeah, that's a cool one too, with the hospital right behind there.
Definitely.
Was it even better because you were thinking about playing there, and then you got to go out there and still experience the stadium?
Like, experiencing it, like watching a game from there as a fan, I'm like, wow, I could imagine this is crazy. And then we go there, like, the sideline, like the fans are right on top of you. They're fucking throwing water on you. Like, it's dope, bro. It's a great experience. You know what I mean?
All right. Between the three sports you played in high school, baseball, wrestling, and football, if you could have chosen to go further with any of them, like, and you would have been in the same professional trajectory, which did you love the most?
I would say I'm torn between wrestling and football for sure. But if I could pick one to go pro in, man, I should have stuck with baseball, man. Those boys are getting paid, so.
That's what I said too. I said that when we were in college, and I got to see the baseball workouts that college players got to do, and I was like, "Why am I going through two-a-days in football pads when I could have been playing baseball?"
Yeah, literally.
All right, next one we got. What is your favorite pregame meal?
I'm big on pasta before pregame. It gets to load up the carbs, load up the energy. So I'd say pasta.
Are you a headphone guy, or are you jamming out with the tunes in the locker room before a game?
Depends who's on the aux, man. As soon as somebody you get two songs, if you mess up two songs in a row, I gotta put the headphones in. That's kind of how I approach it.
All right, what do you got on your headphones then? What music do you like to get to before a game?
Oh man, I like a lot of Chicago artists. So I say like like G Herbo. Man, I was big on Chief Keef when I was earlier in college, but I'd say probably a lot of Herb, man, a lot of Herb.
All right, next one we got here. So, if you had to pick one player that you emulate the most, who would it be?
And I honestly don't know who. Maybe Jason Kelsey, like with Ryan Jensen, a little bit. Those kind of guys who play a little bit grittier, a little bit nastier. I would say one of those two.
More athletic, can get out in space and everything like that.
Yeah, Jason Kelsey's a dog in space.
Oh yeah. By the way, we're all saying his name wrong. It's Kels. It's Kels.
Kels.
I just that was like a big thing. He was on a podcast. He's like, my last name's pronounced Kels, but everybody's called me Kelsey my whole life, so I just roll with it.
So it's Travis Kelce, not Kelsey?
I guess so.
Wow, never knew that.
This last one, it's gonna feel like I'm setting you up, but I promise it's 100% objective. Who's your favorite teammate that you played with?
That I've played with at Illinois?
That maybe has a podcast that you've played with. We went international together. Who's your favorite teammate that you've had so far between college and your short time in the pros?
I would definitely say it's not Jimmy.
Damn it.
Man, I've had a bunch of great guys, man. For being honest, man, I was really tight with Big John, man. Big John, that was my guy. So I'll give it to Big John.
He's a legend from that trip to China.
Yeah, man, definitely.
Yeah, he was the biggest guy on the team. He was the most aggressive guy on the team. He had a couple personal fouls in the tournament, but it was he was like a hockey enforcer almost. He would make sure that those international dudes knew not to mess with any of us, and he maybe put one of their guys out too. So Big John's a legend for sure.
Absolutely.
He also, Nico, he went and played in a national rugby tournament right after he got back from our trip to China.
Yeah, he does play rugby. Yeah, I forgot about that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was all over the place, man. Nico, you got any other questions to wrap up here?
No, man, I'm really, really looking forward to as a diehard Broncos fan. I know we play you guys this year, so I think we're in Pittsburgh though, so I will definitely be looking forward to seeing you on the field very, very soon. Because like we said, you're our very first current athlete, so we have a little more. I mean, it's gonna pain Jimmy to root for the Steelers. I know it will be, but we're gonna tune into some of your games, and I can't wait to see you ball out, man.
For sure. I appreciate you guys having me on, man. It was a good time.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it. Get the word out about, you starting your career and everything like that. I might not be invited to the game. Like if the Pittsburgh plays in Denver, Nico and I will go, but Nico might not want to sit with me because I'll be rocking a Kendrick Green jersey over a Broncos jersey in that game for sure.
For sure. Yeah, every time, man. Every time.
Nah, man, we really appreciate it. Good luck to you in your season. And we wish you nothing but the best and a whole bunch of success as you continue to start your career and everything like that. We really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. Vice versa, man. Y'all stay safe.
All right.